An in-your-face, crazily paced absolute slugfest, Trey Waters vs. Billy Ray Goff, was an easy choice for Fight of the Night at UFC on ESPN 56, Lewis vs. Nascimento, for May 11th, 2024 at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. This was just a wild, all-action brawl from start to finish. Both men were rocked a few times in this back-and-forth war, but transformed into zombie mode during the second half, refusing to go down or give up. Waters is a really tough opponent to deal with, given he's able to make 170 pounds despite being 6'5" inches tall. Goff pressured endlessly to negate the size advantage, eating some to land some, and it was this relentlessness that made it such an entertaining fight. Waters is really heavy on his lead leg, and Goff was doing a nice job of using his low kicks to set up his other kicks, particularly the front kick to the face. He probably should have concentrated more on this strategy, rather than always getting hit to make something happen, but he was certainly creating a memorable fight in the process. Waters was definitely a much better fighter when he was able to utilize his reach though, so by getting inside, Goff was able to rely on his cardio to outwork Waters. Neither put much effort into the defensive aspects, with both holding their hands low and primarily being interested in the next strike they were throwing. The main difference was that Waters had much better head movement and was able to dodge a lot of Goff's punches and keep Goff from landing cleanly a lot more often. Still, even though Waters seemed to be less disinterested in striking defense, Goff landed an outstanding 46% of his significant strikes, to Waters' almost equally impressive 42%. Waters also defended a lot of takedowns, but that was largely because Goff's wrestling wasn't very evolved. Goff didn't really adjust after his first attempt at the single leg, settling into an energy-wasting attempt to lift Waters off a high crotch rather than chaining threats until he found something that actually worked. This was obviously a really draining, low-percentage way for Goff to go about things, and Waters simply has too big a height advantage for this to ever be effective. Goff definitely has more heart, determination, and toughness than skill and technique, but his effort was truly outstanding. Goff's size disadvantage and lack of success with his takedowns made him feel forced into making the fight a sprint, and he was able to keep the pressure on Waters for the entire 15 minutes. Goff was able to take Waters down in the first round by spinning off his body lock. He pounced on Waters' back for a rear naked choke attempt, but Waters was already standing back up, causing Goff to slide off the back. Waters was busting Goff's nose with his jab, so getting tagged on his entries, but then landing back on the inside seemed a better option. Goff took Waters down again after catching his kick, once more threatening with the rear naked choke. Waters landed a big knee as Goff was getting back up, clearly illegal because Goff's right knee was down, but referee Josh Stewart somehow didn't notice. Goff fought through it, and quickly wobbled Waters with a flurry of punches. They just slugged it out toe-to-toe for the final 30 seconds, with Waters wobbling Goff with a right hook and landing a couple good knees. We'll never know how either would have responded to the break for the illegal knee, but the fact that the ref didn't rule it as such could have played a huge part in the scoring of the round. Waters did land the best shot of the round near the end, but otherwise it wouldn't have done much damage if the knee didn't count. While the first round felt more like all-around MMA, with a few takedown and submission attempts, the final two rounds were mostly just slugging it out, with a few pauses for Goff's hopeless single-leg attempts. Waters looked tired to start the second, but Goff's corner told him not to brawl. With Goff rendered hesitant to charge back into the fire, Waters was allowed to recover and get his jab going again. While Waters still seemed more physically fatigued, Goff seemed more damaged because his nose was bleeding from Waters' straights. Waters defended Goff's single leg, but Goff nailed him with a right elbow on the break, which was the only successful technique Goff would display once he'd get into this high crotch position. Goff was generally doing a good job with the right elbow on the inside, but Waters hurt him with a series of right hands with 1 minute 15 seconds left in round 2. Goff tried a desperation takedown, but Waters countered with a standing guillotine. Now Goff was the one looking worse for wear. Waters countered another double leg with a better standing guillotine attempt. Goff landed a couple more good shots before the finish of the round, but things were trending in Waters' direction. After 2 crazy rounds of constant action, round 3 wasn't that good until the final 2 minutes. Both were gassed, and the fight finally stalled out somewhat, with a lengthy takedown attempt by Goff that had to be broken up by the ref. While both fighters threw about 20 fewer strikes in this round, Goff arguably had a slight advantage going into the final minute, as he was the one who was holding Waters against the cage. Goff definitely managed to muster a lot more energy for the final surge, where both guys were just willing themselves to throw to try to pull it out. Goff was pressuring all fight like he said he would, and outstruck Waters. Waters landed the cleaner shots and arguably did more damage, at least based upon the nosebleed, but at the same time, he faded more because he clearly had less stamina. There wasn't much effective grappling despite Goff's attempts to get Waters down, but Goff did have 4 minutes of quote-unquote control, largely holding against the cage. A slight edge here could perhaps be given to Goff for his effort, but basically Goff's rear naked choke attempts and Waters' standing guillotines were a wash. Every round was close enough, but I thought Goff won the first and the third, despite the second round being the one where Goff had a true statistical advantage with 20 more significant strikes landed. Goff just seemed a lot more active overall, and the longer the exchanges went, the more it was to his advantage because he refused to pause. I was shocked that nobody scored the fight for Goff, and one judge even had it 30-27 Waters. This was definitely an excellent fight for the first 2 rounds. The final round wasn't nearly as eventful, which could drop it to very good overall, but this was still the most action-packed UFC fight thus far in 2024, with over 500 standing strikes thrown. It wasn't a technical masterpiece, but this is the sort of fight where the entertainment value allowed them to transcend their skill level and deliver an excellent brawl.